Medicine Hat, my home, my heart. Sunshine City, where dreams all start. Gas City grit in every part. Medicine Hat, my home, my heart.
This is a politically centered podcast.
Pamela Kunz, welcome to the Politically Centered Podcast.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I hope I got your name right. Is it Kunz?
It is.
Okay, good. I hadn't checked that in advance, so I wanted to make sure. So,
I appreciate
Pamela, again, I don't know a thing about you, and we have never met face to face. Other than that meet and greet I was at the other day. You mentioned you were there, but I don't even remember seeing you. It was quite a hectic event, and there was a lot of people there. But please let me know and let our viewers know who you are and tell us something about you.
Okay. Well, as you said, Pamela Kunz. I moved here in 1995. I've stayed. I moved away briefly to go to school, and then another 10-month stint. I moved away to a smaller community by here to kind of reset life a little bit, and then came back. There isn't another community in Alberta that I'd rather live in. That is one thing about me. I love to travel, but not in the sense that you would think. I'm a born, raised, and lover of the prairies of Alberta, and I like to just jump in the truck and go driving and check out small communities around Alberta. I've got family in northern Alberta and all the way down. I have children. They've gone to school here. We were the Ross Glen, Crescent Heights, Hat High rotation. So all of my children are grown and graduated now, and I just feel it's time to take the next step to make the community what makes them want to stay here.
Ross Glen, you mean the area you go into and it takes you 20 minutes to find your way out of, right? That area?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
the puzzle world, yeah.
I'll tell you, I have never been more thankful for Google Maps than when I'm in Ross Glen, because I frequently
Yep,
need to turn it on to get out of Ross Glen.
absolutely.
It's
Wrong turn, and you're in a bay or a court or a crescent or a
so,
cul-de-sac, and
so true. You know, many years from now, some old man is going to come driving out of Ross Glen who's been lost in there for 30 years.
yeah,
And it's
probably the engineer for the design for Ross Glen.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
interestingly enough, on that point, somebody had actually told me that they taught in Dubai for a little while on like a teacher exchange program. And she opened up a book in Dubai, and there was a page on Ross Glen in Medicine Hat in the design class on how not to design a residential area. And I've never been able to find it, but she says she saw it and it existed. It was fascinating.
Well, I don't know if they read that report, because then we designed Southridge, and we kind of have started. We didn't go too far from that same one in,
Yeah.
one out momentum, I should say.
Yeah, it's that bridge between small town into mid-sized city
Yeah,
that this Medicine Hat has really struggled with, because I moved here
yeah.
in 2009, and I don't know exactly what it looked like in 1995 when you came here, but it has been it's been a transition, and I've noticed it.
I remember the first Walmart built, our small Walmart. I remember when that one was built. It was quite exciting.
Yeah, I think that's Sobeys now, isn't it?
No, it's now the whole plaza where the new Mark's Work warehouse is. It's not even recognizable, that area where the first Walmart was.
Because I think the first year I moved here was the year the Supercenter opened.
Oh yes, on the
That was
other side, yeah.
about
Yeah.
2009. Yeah, I remember the old Walmart building sitting there with the empty parking lot. And
Mm-hmm.
so where did you move from when you came here?
Originally from kind of central Alberta. So Edmonton was my big city. It was the same duration from here to Calgary. I grew up in an oil and gas community. I'm a daughter of an oil landman, actually, if you can believe it.
A
Um,
roughneck?
Not quite. He was the guy that made the land deals for the oil company. So it's, and I still am very much a lover of that. I'm interested in the new industries coming in for energy purposes, and it's it's fascinating being the age that I am, and we've gotten to go through these transitions of of life we've gotten from, you know, I remember when they brought in call waiting on phones, and now you can have three-way FaceTime calls on your iPhone and carry it around like a
Yes.
computer. So um very grateful for that. But yeah, very small town community growth, or pardon me, growing up in, and moving here, and this was my big city. This was the big city move, coming to Medicine Hat.
Those are the days when you had to click the number 2 on your flip phone to hit the letter C 3
Yeah.
times.
Yeah,
One, two,
click, click,
three.
click.
Yeah.
I had that. I was so excited when I got the BlackBerry with the actual little keypad on it, so you didn't have to click, click, click A, click, click, click B.
One of the other municipal candidates, and I try not to mention other candidates during interviews, but he brought me his phones yesterday because, as you know, I am the original founder and creator of iFix phones, and he's using Blackberries with keyboards on them still, and he just refuses to let them go. So he is still rotating through his Blackberries, and I don't think he's ever going to want to leave that hard keyboard. Some people are diehard.
Yeah, they're great. I'm an iPhone lover, but I have to have the biggest one. I'm a Pro Max. It's gotta. I am also, to go back on that, generational growth that I've had also shows my age, where, you know, it's in here, you can see here, but you can't see here. So, and I refuse to get bifocals yet. So
Yeah, yeah,
need a big phone.
I get it, right? Yeah, these are bifocals, but we don't talk about the reading class part of it, right? Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So, without mentioning company names, if you're not authorized to do so, what do you do for work?
Up until recently, I was the GM of an organization. So I was there for 2 years, and so transitioning into the next step. So I'm actually going to hold off on to looking at my next big role. Because I'm still putting it out in the universe and hoping that this is my step, because if it is, then it's going to change the path of what I do professionally next. Because if I have the opportunity to be a counselor for the city, I would like to maintain my full-time availability. I know it's considered a part-time role, but I I have some dedicated plans that I would like to, take the time to see flourish. So I've been over the last 20 years, I've been in management or leadership positions, across multiple industries. I actually quite love it. I've had the opportunity to manage in industries that I've never even worked in. Even growing up, I've never even worked in them. But when you have an ability to be with people and learn people and lead them in different avenues. The industry itself isn't as much as it is the people that are in that industry, and that's where I love to work, is just learning the people. And um, every industry I've been in, where I've been in management, has taught me another significant skill set. My last role, I was more in the budgeting and the financial planning than I had been in any other role. So learning and finding right down to the core of where cost cutting and, you know, making sure you're spending properly so that the gains are more significant, started to make way more sense to me. And you kind of get wrapped up in the numbers then. And it kind of became a joke where I was going to get us to the point where everybody was going to be allowed 3 squares of toilet paper. And it it wasn't quite that bad, but it's amazing when you go in and start to look at historical things right down to subscriptions you forgot you were paying for on a monthly basis, and just do a real deep dive into those kinds of things. And um, one of the most cost effective things is being cognizant of what you're spending. And I think that is clearly something that this community is asking for, is a real understanding of why and how and what we're spending on, and if it's significant to be putting us into tax brackets that we are, or if maybe there's some other ways to do things. And innovative spending is and imaginative spending, and all of those things are creative. All those words come into play when you're looking at expenditures. And I hope to take that mindset into this next role.
You know what ran through my head when you said that was, you remember the movie Independence Day when the president finds out Area 51 is real, and the Jewish guy goes, you don't actually think they spent $8,000 on a hammer or $20,000 on a toilet seat, do you?
Yeah.
That's what ran
Yeah.
through my head when you said that. I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up though, because last election when I ran, that was a question that surfaced quite a bit from people in Medicine Hat is, how are you going to dedicate the time that is needed to the position and still fulfill that role while you're working? And of course,
Yep.
it is listed as a part-time position. The pay does reflect that. You simply, most people are not going to be able to survive solely on the city
No.
council income. And it is a very difficult balance because you want to, if you're getting into public service, you want to be able to dedicate that full time and do town halls, but at the same time you have a family to feed, and that's a very hard balance. And you addressed it very well, that you before you're taking on the next role, you want to know the outcome of the election, and that's, you're the only one who's mentioned that so far, so kudos to you.
Thank you.
So
Yes,
I
I do understand I
No,
understand
it's okay.
the difficulty of the role and the value it takes to, or pardon me, the value I need to take in that role. I have actually spoken to people that have been counselors in other communities, and just to get a real snapshot of what they dedicated to time. And almost all of the people that I've spoken to said that they stepped down after their first term because they had no idea the time dedication that it actually took, and to do it properly. They all had the same statement: to do it properly, you have to be able to dedicate full time, because you want to be as engrossed in the community as you possibly can, and you need the time to do that. And I I've put it out in the universe so strongly that this is the next role that I am made to be in. And so I want to make sure that I've accommodated that with the time allotment.
So I intentionally don't read the candidates' platforms. If you've seen some of my interviews, I say this a lot because I like things to be spontaneous and
Hmm.
not out of the can or box,
Yep.
whatever, if you're big into recycling. And tell me some of the talking points from your municipal platform.
Well, it's funny you use the word platform because I don't have one. I chose not to. I feel
I didn't have
that
one either.
if you set promises, which is what that is, and they're great. I mean, every candidate has great their strength, their beliefs, their ability to bring forward these things. But I just we live in a world where you are going to be held account for everything that you say. And excuse me, there's we're under a microscope, and I don't want to falsify any intention. I don't want to have anybody believe that I'm going to promise something that I cannot do. I will not make a promise that I can't achieve, I follow through, or be successful at. And I mean, I suppose I do have somewhat of a platform. Dedication are words like that I would come forward with. I do. I'm
You have
not only dedicated.
ideals, not promises.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Um, the dedicated time that I like we just reviewed, I'm actually planning my life around the time allotment for dedication to that time. Um, Strength and conviction in what I think the community is telling me, if I'm interpreting it properly from what the community communicates with me, what they want to see, and be able to have some very strong, truthful conversations, both with community members and behind the scenes. And that strength, I hope, comes forward. And also, again, back to the learning over the last 20 years of looking for things that aren't obvious. The spending is the biggest one. Like where, and I don't want to assume that there's money being hidden. It just could be forgotten about, right? Like there's things that are being spent on that we need to just reevaluate. And so cognizant of spending, dedicated to the community, like and strength and conviction in my ability to find answers. If if I'm gonna have a platform, there you go. I just gave you my platform, Jeremy.
There we go. No, it was well said. So, pet peeves going on in the city. How about one of the hot button topics that I am really tired of hearing about Division Avenue South and traffic circles, but that's okay. Hey, let's do it. Uh,
Um,
I live on the
yeah,
Southwest Hill, about 2 blocks from Division Avenue. Okay,
yeah,
and I drive a 2002 Dodge Durango, full size Durango, and I make that turn at least 5 times a day, a right hand turn onto
yeah.
Division Avenue. Never had a problem with it, but I know a lot of people do. So that this is, my personal opinion. What are your thoughts on it?
On Division. So the first time I drove up there when I started hearing, because I'm a Crescent Heights. I live in like the the downside of Crescent Heights, the Ranchlands, Parkview area, Police Point Park, and I don't ever really, unless I'm going for my, I don't want to admit how many times I try to stay away as much as I can because I am a lady, but the swirls is a demand in the summertime. I am definitely a swirls a lover. And so hearing all of the things about Division, I decided that I should drive it one day. And so I came up the hill and it was like another world when you just get up the top of that hill and you start to see the red brick and the walkways. And yes, at first view it's like, wow, this is beautiful. And then 5 seconds later you're like, this is intense. Like there is a lot of red brick. Like that was the first thing I noticed. Did it have to be that much? Yes, it looks great and it looks like a great downtown kind of walkway. So I was going towards, so I guess that would have been, what direction is that? I'm terrible with that. So I'm coming up the hill and I'm going towards Swirls. So driving it looks great, feels great. I'm like, okay, I
I'm
see
pretty
what
sure
some
that's
people,
east, but I'm just as
there we go.
bad. Back to the Ross Glenn conversation in Google Maps.
Exactly,
All
exactly.
right.
I'm directionally challenged.
Yes.
So and I just was like, okay, I can see it. And then I started paying attention to the turns and I'm like, okay, I'll note this and keep going. So I visually first, okay, okay, okay. So then I end up just by fluke talking to a couple of people that live up there. And one of them said to me, don't let anybody tell you that this is a bad idea. My property value's gone up. I love it. The kids can walk. It's beautiful. We now love walking around. I'm like, okay, that's fair.
Interesting. Yes,
Yeah,
because you know what? I did an interview the other day, and the candidate said whether it's good or bad will be dependent on people's property values, and time
yeah,
will tell. So,
yeah.
yeah, keep
So
going
that was
on that.
somebody
Interesting.
volunteering that information to me, just came into me. So
Yeah.
then a couple of weeks ago, I was coming from the hospital and I decided to come down the road that comes out at Swirls and just to see. And I had to make a right-hand turn back down the road and I drive a half-ton truck. And I had to go completely into the other lane of traffic to make a right-hand turn because it is a complete 90-degree turn at that. And now I see what people are talking about. And that was just one. And that right away, honestly, the first thing I thought to myself is like, okay, we can't rip up this whole road, cognizant of spending. But the first thing I want to do is come out here and take these corners down to a 45 into just the corners, because if nothing else, we do need to accommodate that because I can't I can't know that citizens are forced to go into oncoming traffic to turn a corner. It blew me away because there was no way to make that turn. Maybe with a very small car, and I understand that, but we also do still live in Alberta, and I'm sure if I drive a pickup truck, so do a lot of other people. And I couldn't believe it. It was disappointing to see that there was forced danger put into a citizen's path, and I didn't care for that. So
I've seen a lot of people commenting on you wait till winter, there's going to be a ton of accidents there, but I actually really like the road personally. That's just me, and it is not because I'm driving a smart car. Okay, I I have a 2002 Dodge Durango, and but I also do hold a professional driver's license. And I'll leave the company out that I drove for many years ago, but I do have that experience driving a very large professional vehicle. So I guess maybe my perspective is a little different. Those corners don't bother me at all. But a lot of people are saying that come winter it's going to be multiple accidents. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is not the first year it's been there. This is the first year it's been complete, but last year they did have half of it done. And I don't remember ever seeing an accident on that corner, but it is you are right to a certain extent that we can't build roads under the assumption that everybody is going to be a professional driver and be able to
Yeah,
navigate that corner, and
yeah,
is an absolute problem.
yeah. And I mean, there was a statement once in one of the council meetings about how if everybody just drives properly, there won't be any problems. And that's fantastic. That is a I love the theory, but we also we've had people win Canada's worst driver that lives here.
Oh, I
Like
was going to say that.
we we can't just assume one thing to justify another. And I mean, like I said, I think it looks beautiful too, but I think it was just a little bit too much. I hope we learn from that and just go back to making sure our roads are pothole free, nice and paved, clean, lanes, thoroughways are just very practical. And um, you know, if something works, it works. If it doesn't, I think we need to move on. So hopefully that's the mindset that the new council comes in with.
Yeah, I've seen a few people asking um, candidates if they would rip it up and change it. I'm like, are you serious? No. No, no, no.
No,
I
that's
have
just
better things
that
to
goes
do
back
than
to
spend my
ridiculous
tax
spending.
dollars. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I haven't asked any other candidate, and mainly because it's just on my mind. I made a
Hmm.
post about it this morning. I don't know if you saw the post about Canada or Alberta separating from Canada.
Hmm.
Now, I don't really personally, I don't actually want you to state your position. If you really want to, it's up to you. I personally feel that it is not a question that should be presented to municipal candidates. And last election, I I I was very frustrated with some of the strictly provincial questions that were asked municipal candidates, just because people are so polarized and they felt like they needed to have an answer. But do you think that municipal candidates should be asked whether they agree or disagree with Alberta separating? So instead of stating your position on it, I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the question itself.
No, I don't. I mean, honestly, when you put yourself out there as a candidate, you don't get to restrict what people ask you and what people are allowed to ask you. You have to decide what and where your focus is and that kind of thing. I have never uh, believed that partisan politics has a place in municipal government. So I think that dabbles in that pool. I've been asked a lot, like, who did I vote for in the last federal election? And if you want to have a coffee with me and one on one and we can talk politics, I suppose. Um, I've owned business. I want to see people thrive. It's not, I don't think it would be a secret to what direction I would go, but municipalities are the community that municipality is in. That is the people of this community. Whether and if you're not doing right by that community and you're guiding it strictly by um, a much grander scale of federal or even, yeah, provincial is good, but we have to work with the province, and then the province needs to understand what Medicine Hat wants as a community. And I just, even my strongest beliefs should only be a mild part of my decision making, because the decision making that I'm bringing my skills, I'm bringing my history, I'm bringing my experiences, and then I'm also taking that and then representing what the community wants, not what I want, what the community wants. And I just, that's where I find those questions, they just make it a little bit too gray, and then things get a little one-sided and, like you said, polarized. And I agree with that.
Yeah,
And it's with everything, like
it
if
is.
I love the color orange or purple or green and I decide to paint all the buildings because I'm on council and I get to help guide these decisions, that's still my opinion, and that is wrong. That's not the greater good of the community. So
Yeah, you speak for the people.
I
Absolutely.
do, absolutely.
Yep. So on that topic, there is a subject that's very convoluted that falls provincially and municipally at the same time, but our petty crime problem
Yeah.
and our homeless problem, as well as that kind of factors into the mustard seed shelter. And
Yep.
again, I would like to clarify that not all people on the street are criminals. Not all people on the street steal.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, for any of the black and white thinkers out there, there are built-in exceptions, and you cannot have a conversation like Pamela and I are having and not generalize. So,
Hmm.
for you black and white thinkers, there you go. I built in an exception for you. Um, sorry, pet peeve. But what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
On the whole thing as a whole. So it is a question all of us candidates get asked on the regular because homelessness is a struggle for people to wrap their brains around, because there's 53 times 100 reasons why somebody would have life challenges that would put them on the street. I don't think anybody wakes up one day and says, I'm going to try out this new lifestyle and see what it brings me.
Very well
And
said.
and one of the biggest questions I ask back to citizens when they say to me, what are you going to do to fix homelessness? And I say, well, I would love to say that I could fix homelessness, but I don't have the ability. I don't have the know-how to fix homelessness. I said, but I can help you with your discomfort, and the discomfort people have, it's that's a variety as well. People have discomfort seeing the homeless. It makes us feel bad. It generates, feelings of almost guilt, where how do they get where they are at? Then there's the discomfort of I don't feel safe if I'm, and the downtown is a prime example of what people are saying. Well, I'm not safe downtown. Well, you don't feel safe downtown.
Correct.
We have, we've had a few incidences, but not to the point where you could say it is unsafe to be downtown, but we feel unsafe. We're uncomfortable to be downtown. So understanding that, and I think we need to have clear conversations from council to the community about what our social services are doing, because the thing about social services, and I hope I don't misquote somebody, I won't say her name, but she said, if we are doing things and the community doesn't know we're doing them, we're doing it right because we're not drawing attention to the things we're doing and commercializing the work that is being done behind the scenes for, community housing and, you know, food insecurity and all of the programs that are running. But it's almost to the point where we live in a commercialized world. People want the information, they want to know what they don't know, right? And so
You're entitled to
I
your own feelings. You're not entitled to your own
exactly.
facts.
Right, but yet not knowing the facts then contributes to misinformed
Yeah.
spreading of information, right? Because everybody believes that they have the facts and then they share it and share it and share it, which is the beauty of Facebook. Um, and we have a lot of work to do at a provincial level that's got to come down to us. And I myself had, when I was designing what I wanted as a message for my campaign, months and months ago, I had a soapbox for the nonprofits and how the community needed to help and how council and administration, we needed to work on these programs and we needed to make sure they had the money to fund these programs. And then I talked to wow, am I glad I had a meeting before I went out on a tangent about how the community, as far as council and administration, need to help. They need to help by advocating. What we need to do is we need to learn what these programs are that are needing provincial assistance, and we need to work from a city perspective. We need to communicate that with the province on behalf of our nonprofits here, because that is provincial funding that comes down to us and to these organizations. And then they are asking that we make it less of a challenge to get the things that they need. If they like take the red tape down for everybody. We'll get into that, I'm sure. We'll get into that frustration, but we need to kind of get out of their way a little bit more when they need an assist and when they need a help clearing things up faster, moving a program through faster. That's how we need to help these nonprofits. And the more we can get those programs running, the more we can get some of the people that are on the street that are wanting help. I mean, there is a percentage of people out there that don't want help. They're not
Yeah.
interested in it. Um, and
It's
for those,
convoluted because it's always
yeah,
both.
yeah, for those folks, that is not my area of anything other than my own personal feelings. There's no knowledge expertise in there. I can't imagine what mindset or what challenges you have to face to that is the choice you want to make in life, you know, like it's just, and it's very hard to understand that when you can't even put yourself close to that mindset. But the people that are out there um, that want help, that have the ability to take help and could use it, we need to make sure that the programs are there and accessible for them. And that's going to take some strength. And it's not going to take money. It's going to take advocacy so that the province is able to bring that money into these programs that we have here and help the people more. So that the side effect to that solution, which is a phrase I love, the solutions are stronger programs. The side effects to that is more people using them and then less people on the street. So, you know, we just need to figure out where the start point is and work our way into that solution instead of thinking we're just going to solve this problem one answered wise, and it's just not going to happen.
I've stated multiple times during interviews that, the general public really needs to stop asking loaded questions and looking for specific answers to cast their vote, right? They should be voting for a set of ideals, not because somebody agreed with them. Because
Yeah.
I know that, like, of course, that's convoluted like everything, because you're not going to vote for somebody you completely disagree with. But when you ask loaded questions, it's really easy for people just to tell you what they think you want to hear to get your vote. And then the general public complains that the politicians are dishonest and lie to them. But
Yeah.
realistically, you're setting yourself up for failure when you walk up to somebody and say, "Oh, how would you have voted for the mask bylaw?" which was a question we got hammered with last election. And when somebody walks up and says, "Oh, says, do you believe they should force us to wear masks because they're taking our freedoms away?" Gee, how do you think we want you to answer that question? Do you think
Yeah.
anybody's going to look at your face and tell you that they're for the mask bylaw after you phrase the question that way?
Yeah.
It's on the general public to be less reactive and to just sometimes stop talking and listen.
Yeah.
On the subject that you were just talking about is, I'm curious, thoughts about the mustard seed shelter and its placement.
Um, that I don't know. I want to continue to learn. Um, I know what we're needing. I have learned, you know, the number of beds we need, the because there's very specific factors that come into the location where the location is chosen. I mean, honestly, when there's a limited number of spots where it could be, I don't think anything's going to be ideal, right? In a wave your magic wand kind of thing, I think there would be, if there was a property that we could build a facility and it could be exactly what everybody needs and it has all the factors, but we're making allotments for whatever available properties that there are, and there's always going to be challenges with those, but um, having them in one location, again, this might be a solution, but the side effect of that is going to be this, that, and the other thing. And one of them is transportation. Because not everybody that's living on the street doesn't have a job, you know, like there could be somebody working part-time, cleaning, working in a kitchen. Like I don't know, but we have to make sure that they have availability to get where they need to be. Well, now we're including transit, right? And do we have a strong enough transit system where they can get where they need to be, and food service, and so I'm not skilled, I am not knowledgeable enough to say that there is a right answer to where the mustard seed's going to be. I am going to be on this until I am more educated from behind the scenes. I am just like every other citizen watching this process kind of run its course as to where our shelter is going to be. The mustard seed is an entity on itself, so that has another can of worms with it, that they are, they're not a local medicine hat organization. They're working with our organization. So I don't know enough about those dynamics either. I attend anything and everything that I can, so I'm as informed as I can be. But at this point, I'm I can't tell you what the right answer is because I don't know all of the factors that are included in it.
It's okay. I prefer an answer like that other than fluff. And I think so
Yeah,
does the general public. So,
I hope so.
yeah. Any other things in the city you would like to talk about? Something that interests you. I mean, one of the hot button topics is, of course, the argument on city council that has been going on, seems like forever now, 2 years, I think. But if you had been in a sitting city council member and that had come up, conflict resolution is sorely lacking, clearly. And how would you have navigated that? That's a very hard question, I know, but
Well, so in a nutshell, when we go back to, because again, not knowing all of the behind the scenes, I think there clearly, when there is a pinnacle moment in time where we feel like things have pivoted, it's never just that moment. There's always, the glacier effect where there is 500 things underneath that one pivot moment that has built up to this. What I'm a little disappointed in is that it dragged out for the 2 years, and whether it was, our the two leaders of these two groups at any given time, I feel could have just called it and said, you know what, we need to stop this. It's, for the community. But um we lost 2 years because of the development of this dynamic. And that's where I'm disappointed, right? Like, I don't think any of the sitting councilors or mayor ever thought for 1 second in their campaign 4 years ago that they would spend the second half of their term in a very dramatic, very personnel personality level situation that the entire community watched, and the province and the country. And so now they're reacting to things that they never thought they'd have to deal with. And it just turned out so poorly. And I don't think there is one smoking gun, so to speak, to say what could have been done differently to change it. There was a plethora of decisions that probably could have been made differently to avoid this. And now people are reacting to the reaction. Right now we're in this is what I wanted to happen. This is what we should have done. This is what, and I mean, the side effect to that chaos is the community is way more engaged in, council and administration.
very true.
10-15 years ago, I would have challenged anybody to walk up to you on the street and ask you, name me 3 counselors, like, what's a managing director, like, and so with that, again, solution, side effects, with that, again, cause and effect, you get people that believe they know all the things that are going on because you're fed it from social media and that's the facts you go by. Then there's
Like
people that are
like
intrigued by
sands
it.
through the hourglass.
Oh,
Sorry.
like, you have no idea. These are the days of our lives.
Oh, there you
And
go.
so to have that much light shined on council and administration, it could go either way. I mean, there's the group of people that love the dramatics of it. It's like a bad car wreck. You're driving by and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to look. But on the other hand, there's people that are spending great deals of time educating themselves, and maybe it'll have. Oh, I'm blurring. Stop
Yeah, go
moving, Pam.
forward
Stop
and
moving.
backward a little. There we go.
And maybe we'll have a large voter turnout this time.
I
Like,
think that the voter turnout has been increasing dramatically the more polarized we have become. So I guess there
yeah,
are some benefits to it, but that's a very good point. And And on that note, thank you so much for coming on the Politically Centered podcast, because I've really enjoyed our interview. You're still really fuzzy, but you were in focus for
Sorry.
most of the interview. That's all right. You know, it's everybody is starting probably to adjust their glasses. It's not going to help. But oh, there we
There we
go.
go.
Thank you so much, Pamela. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and good luck in the up and coming election.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Support for today's episode comes from The Phone Whisperer, Medicine Hat's best kept secret since 2010. Serving Medicine Hat and area for over 15 years. Created by the mind behind iFix phones. Need a fix? Call 403-488-1220. The Phone Whisperer. Welcome home, Hatters.
This is a politically centered podcast.